this Twitter account, Statistic Urban, posted on September 22nd.
Oh, he sent me this. This is delightful.
This is Clallam County, Washington. It's the top left corner of Clallam County. Yeah. Clallam, yeah.
Clallam.
It's the last bellwether county in the country, the only one to have voted for the winner in every election since 1980. What's interesting about this, Devin, this is the county that I'm from. I grew up in Port Angeles, Washington, which is the county seat of Clallam County, and my parents still live there. So it's interesting to see, and this is true, I Googled it and read articles about it, the last bellwether county that has voted for the winning president since 1980, that's kind of wild and kind of crazy. And it's fascinating to me because Clallam County is very, very, very rural, but it's close enough to like Seattle to still get urbanites attracted to it.
Right.
And also it is right across the border from Canada.
Oh.
And so it has a little bit of like a cosmopolitanism because of that. Because I mean, like when I lived there, like at least once a year, I would take the ferry to go to Victoria, and Victoria is like, you know, beautiful and like super cool, and there's different money. Like it's cool. Like you feel cosmopolitan to be like country hopping, like right there on your front door. It's also a strange place because it gets a ton of tourists who come to see the Olympic National Forest. So it's this very interesting part of the world that is completely rural, still very urban, gets a lot of like college educated folks, like still kind of like gravitate towards there, hyper beautiful. I want to talk a little bit about what I think this particularly means for the Harris-Trump election coming up. If this is the bellwether county, and if I'm from there and still know a ton of people who live there, I feel like I might have a little bit of a read on which way this is going to sway.
Oh my God, Peter. Tell us. Yeah. The Oracle, dude, the Oracle from Port Angeles, man.
My one data point here that I know for an absolute fact is that my parents still live there, lifelong Republicans, very much turned off by Trump, especially my mom, like very turned off by Trump, and they're going to be voting for Harris. Whoa. So I think that speaks, and they to me like represent this community because they like used to go to church forever. They kind of don't so much anymore, but you know, 2 kids in the school system. My mom was a substitute teacher. My dad like works for the forest industry. I mean, like they to me like do represent the community very, very much. And yeah, like I don't know. There are like hardcore Trumpers out there. Sure. A lot of dudes with trucks who just like are stereotypical redneck, you know. But I don't think that rednecks at all represent that community. I have lived in actual legitimate redneck communities. Port Angeles is not that. And if they are going to be
a dying breed too. Like they're definitely like they're definitely like a woolly mammoth on the American plains, dude.
Yeah. I mean, one last little thing here is that when I tweeted about this, I tweeted just specifically, I'm from Port Angeles in Clallam County. My parents who still live there, lifelong Republicans who were turned off by Trump and are voting for Harris for whatever that's worth. This tweet somehow resonated. I don't know how this happened, but this got 74,000 views. This is this dopey little tweet and 2K likes, a bunch of comments that I was kind of going back and forth with some people in the comments a little bit.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, this like resonated with people. This to me is kind of interesting because I think that there is this sense that this election is kind of terrifying for everybody. And the fact that it's like a toss-up is terrifying and like seems totally bizarre.
I think we're past toss-up phase though.
Yeah, so if there's any grain of like tea leaves we can read for how this is gonna go, and like apparently Clallam County is one of them. But okay, you just jumped in on that. Like you said, it's not so much of a toss-up anymore. What do you mean?
It sure doesn't seem like it. I mean, like I feel like I'm a bit of a creature of the zeitgeist. Like as a songwriter, I feel like I spend just kind of a lot of my time with my little, with my little snail antenna, like kind of poked up into the goo, and boy, has public sentiment really eroded almost in like a landslide away from Trump and towards Harris. I mean, $50 said that Oprah locked in your mom's vote when she fucking hit with the Kamala, because for our mom's generation, dude, Oprah is God. Dude, you know, I don't know if your mom was an Oprah lady, but like if she's the same age as my mom, she's got the same cultural awareness as
totally.
Oprah, you know, or of Oprah. And yeah, I think every time I see a new story, it's like, you know, Harris ahead by 6 points in Georgia, like Harris pulling ahead of the margin of error of this poll, and Trump just kind of feeling pretty silly. Just came out with that silly watch, you know, and that silly coin, and like I think is tone deaf in a way that people were dude, it was a hysteria after the pandemic. We were in a hysteria, right? It was 9/11, right? It was like everybody was in a fucking froth and a lather. You know what I'm saying? And like I think you can get away with a lot of crazy shit, a lot of crazy chicanery and shillery when everybody is like freaking out. But we're all kind of back to normal now, and like an ex-president trying to sell $100,000 watches really does feel like, you know, like Sunday morning preacher, you know what I mean? Like just like televangelist like style bullshit. So, you know, for a host of reasons, I think that Kamala would have to like, man, she would have to really screw the pooch somehow. And I don't see it, man. She's a tactical. She's
I do
she's
agree.
an operator.
And that like she's running a very good campaign, like shockingly good. There are things to complain about. People absolutely find things to complain about. Fair, there always are. But like, man, if you just like kind of step back and like look at what's happening, he is crumbling and melting down, and like he is being the buffoon character, which he always has been. But like he shouldn't still be doing that if he were being tactical, and he just like is. And then she is being like her best version of herself, which is like she pivoted to the middle. Shockingly, she became a moderate. This is what you are supposed to do. People can complain about it for her, but like this is legitimately the move. And he's not. Like he's leaning into like weird. He tried to with abortion, being like, I'm the most like women should vote for me because of my views of abortion, or I'm the most pro woman. Like, but everyone knows it's bullshit.
Right.
One thing that's interesting to me, Devin, apparently like there are still like, you know, half a dozen swing states, and they are still kind of sort of a toss up. Some lean Harris, some lean Trump. But what's nuts to me, Devin?
Tell me, Pete.
Florida's still in play. Florida could because Florida didn't always used to like default to the Republicans. That wasn't always the thing. And it's in play. And like, dude, I don't think this is really gonna happen. But like, if it
thinking Bush? Are you thinking Bush Kerry, dude?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, totally. But like, here's the thing. Like, and imagine how mad Trump would be if Florida flipped, which that would make it. But if Harris gets Florida and Pennsylvania, both totally possible, and let's just like say she also gets like Wisconsin and Nevada or something, it could actually legitimately be a complete landslide.
We need that though, man. Let me tell you, man, we really need a landslide, because this fool every fucking couple of days is sowing seeds of dissent, not unlike 2020, and like, man, we can't do another January 6th. I don't think there's enough great public sentiment, and people aren't really riled up enough to do something like that. But like, there's enough diehard people that, you know, it could be a problem for a minute, and it could really kind of like be a QAnon type situation where it's a little earwig that kind of crawls into the dark underbelly and stays there for a while. And I think if it's a landslide, it'll be really hard for him to argue that it was stolen again. If it's close, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be feeling very disenfranchised from the American political system. Luckily, those people are old and they'll die soon. So
I'll say this. I will say this. If it's a landslide and Harris wins, like hands down, no question, she just pulls out ahead, and it's just like it's done and over. That is best case scenario for Republicans.
Oh, because also for Republicans, because they can distance themselves from him.
They can finally ditch Trump. Even the Trump diehards will be like, okay, he's lost enough. Okay. He's too old to like be coherent 4 years from now. They will basically have to move off of him.
They'll let him go
if they're at all halfway reasonable, which honestly I think that they are at some level.
They have to now.
And then like real talk, Harris isn't going to be the world's best president. I just don't think that she is. She's going to have her
Get us
fumbles, and
into a
like we're going to be
series
sick of
four, dude.
her after a couple, like 2.5 years. We're all going to be kind of like, you know what I mean?
Maybe,
Like
yeah.
Republicans could totally have, I don't know, 2028. Like they could be maybe. I'm being so bullish on them. I shouldn't even be, because I actually don't think this. I think that like demographically they're failing too
Collapsing.
hard, and they're not getting like
I'll
they're not
tell you
getting young
what, though,
voters.
man.
But yeah, okay.
The Harris presidency could really surprise us, because you know what I heard recently that
Could.
really
Okay.
that really surprised me about her is that all of her aides and all of her staffers are terrified of going into meetings with her, because she shows up having read all of the fucking material. She's got all of her own notes, and she already knows what she wants to talk about and kind of wants to hear from you about. And like
Ooh,
it's like
interesting.
it's a really high bar. It's a very prosecutorial kind of energy from what I hear, you know, in her kind of executive meetings and stuff. And I'm like, you know, that's the kind of energy that could get a lot done in 4 years. And I don't think that she maybe have the same Obama energy needed to kind of hold it down for the first black president, you know, where I feel like Obama very much kind of like was buoyant with the times and tried to remain unobtrusive in his presidency. And I don't know that she's got that same kind of sense of like longitudinal stability. She seems like a bit of a fucking firecracker, man. And like, if she's got plans for the shit she wants to get done in those 4 years, I'd put my money on her to get it done, man. We'll see, you know. I do think she could get us into a war. She seems a bit hawkish on you know, military and defense, and a little cowed to the Israel situation right now, which is just kind of a non-starter for most people. Even Republicans, you know, are kind of like, okay, you know, like, okay. But we'll see, I guess, you know. We'll find out. I think we will find out, because I just think it's nigh impossible that Trump wins at this point, in my humble opinion.
I will say this. I like whoever is president next, they are absolutely going to have to deal with either directly Iran, Russia,
yeah.
or China. Like, because all these countries are just like, because I mean, like the whole like Ukraine thing, it's not really about Ukraine, it's actually about China.
Yeah.
And like Israel, sorry, it's not about Israel or Palestine, it's about Iran. That's literally what's going on. Like everybody that Israel's fighting is just Iran proxy. And we should just, I think, talk about Iran way more. And I don't like 4 years, another 4 years is not going to go by without the U.S. having some direct conflict with one of those or all of those countries. I just, and I say that just because like, I don't think everything is so like at the breaking point. There's no way all of these like rogue ass countries dial it back. Like they're not going to die, because their leaders are all getting older and older in Iran, especially in China. And then like, and even Putin's like aging. They're gonna like make moves, because this is like their last moment to make a move, so they're gonna die.
Man, I'm still such a bulldog for American military might and intensity, where I think that like most countries really are just posturing. I mean, I've watched a couple of videos recently, like on our naval fleet, and it's just fucking hilarious. Like the supremacy that we have militarily. People are so funny. Like, let me just, I know we both got to go, but let me go out on this. I had this long debate with someone the other day about military spending in the United States. And I'm like, I get it. There's homeless people. I get it. Like, we have social problems. We're also the most people spread over the most first world living people spread over the largest contiguous landmass in the world, inarguably. Everybody else at our scale has as many people as we have in our entire country living hand to mouth. You know what I'm saying? And like everybody in this country, with the exception of mentally ill people, is pretty fucking well taken care of. We do need to figure out everything else kind of from that level down. However, the military spending part, I mean, if you don't think that we would have had minor incursions into like our airspace, sea space, potentially land space. We share a fucking land bridge with Russia, man. Like, you see what these authoritarian countries do to probe their neighbors to see how ready they are to defend themselves. And like, if people don't think we need to have this huge budget for military spending, why don't you go take your fucking passport and see if it gets you into Beijing, dude? You know what I'm saying? And see what happens when you get there. And see what it's like in these places where there's authoritarian regimes, man. Like, we have, like, somebody's got to maintain military supremacy over democracy in the world, right? Like, if democracy isn't protected with the shield and the sword, these places have the potential of influencing and conquering their fucking neighbors like they were trying to do 100 years ago. And the fact that we have an insane navy, fucking desperately aggressive, you know, military age young men, and a country full of fucking weapons, you don't think that that disincentivizes anybody from trying to pull any fucking funny shit? Because you look everywhere else in the world and they're all pulling funny shit everywhere. The Chinese with the Uyghurs and fucking in the Southwest, the, you know, Russia with Ukraine, Iran with Israel. Like, authoritarian regimes are still colonialist entities, and they must be fucking controlled, and they must be afraid that somebody is going to come in and wipe their whole shit out if they step out of line, man. You know, we need to contain these places smaller and smaller and smaller until those types of governments wither and die. And the only way to do that is through military might. You're not going to bargain your way into the Ayatollah's fucking favor, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of too bad there's not like a second country in line that could, like, we back off and like, we're peaceful now. And then, like, there's like a huge, like, other country that could actually rival China and, like, spread
and, like, we
freedom
can't trust the British ever again.
Well, they're just too small and weak at this point.
They're too small and weak, and, like, and yeah,
even the EU is, like, not very powerful anymore.
No,
you know?
Anybody next in line is just kind of like out. It's just not. It's a weight class issue.
Yeah. It's actually the best way to look at it. Did you ever see that video? It was a recent real life lore video about how America cannot be taken over, like, because there are all these movies about, like, America being invaded, you know, it's been like a trope for a little while, and then, like, he went through, like, level by level how it's absolutely just not possible. It is completely not possible.
Oh, I love it. Love to see that.
Oh yeah, I'll send you a link. It's great. It's very good. Anyway, on that note, I gotta bounce.
Behind every blade of grass, baby.
Hey man, good talks. We'll talk soon.
All right, Peter. Later, buddy.